Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations as always to the elect. And I want to do a response to this video that was uploaded by the elder Apostle Gabar. As you can see here, his YouTube page, Daily Edification 4. Okay, so subscribe if you haven't and be edified. The title of the video that I will be responding to is Okay. Now this is just pure madness. The madness of the purple people leader. And he's speaking of Bishop Nathaniel. And this is going to be used for as fair use. All right, we don't make any money off of these videos. We just defend the gospel. That's what we're set up to do. And this is just business. All right, so that, you know, the truth of the matter is taught, and Israel's without excuse, as we're going to show you in this video. He's pretty much teaching, you know, as we go into Revelation, the 20th chapter, that after the 1,000-year period where we reign with Yahweh Shai, that the nations, all right, are going to, you know, for 1,000 years, I guess, create weapons, and ultimately they're going to try to rebel against us and Yahweh Shai, you know, under Yahweh Shai. And basically there's going to be a great war. As you can see, Gog and Magog, you know, being mentioned. Basically the war that is spoken of in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, where, you know, Russia, Iran, and all of these various different nations go attack, you know, the land of Israel and also America. He's basically saying that's going to happen after the 1,000-year period, all right, where we reign with Yahweh Shai in the kingdom of heaven. So we're going to give understanding on these things so that those who have ears to hear can get the truth of the matter, because this is pure madness. You know, when Yahweh Shai returns and the kingdom is established on earth, all right, there's going to be no end to that kingdom, and there will be no more war. Okay, the final war, all right, which is Armageddon, World War III, which, you know, out of that is going to come the destruction of Babylon the Great. That's when the Lord returns to gather, you know, his people. And from that point, we're going to be in safety. All right. And from that point, you know, as we'll, you know, be beamed up, there will be no more war. But we'll show you these things and more. There's a lot to unpack here, as brothers have been watching it. So, you know, this may have to be maybe 2 or 3 videos. Or, you know, maybe what the Lord wants to come out will just come out in this one. But as you can see, a lot of people are watching this, and a lot of people are basically, you know, big up in this breakdown. Okay? And it's completely wrong. And as the scriptures say, evil seducers would wax worse and worse in the latter days. Okay? And our job is to defend the gospel. All of these dudes who are following brothers around, looking at their pages, you know, well, why are you teaching right there? Ain't nobody, you know, you're going to notice these guys ain't going to be on the front lines to defend the gospel when it comes to stuff like this. But they want to nitpick and cry about everything else. Anyway, this is just business. And without further ado, we're going to let the bishop talk.
But I might want to hear 4. Let me hear 4.
Revelation chapter 20 and verse 4.
I want y'all to listen good.
And
Now this goes between Ezekiel 37 and 38. Go ahead.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus.
I saw the souls of them that was beheaded for the witness of Jesus. Go ahead. That's the apostles in them. Go ahead.
And for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast nor his image.
Now that's the rest of us today. And which have not worshipped the beast, what?
Neither his image.
Or his image. That's the image of the beast, white Jesus. Go ahead and all that.
And the image of the beast, we always break it down as more than white Jesus. We're not going to go in depth into that today, but the image of the beast is the revival of Rome. All right. The way of governance. You know, they have a Senate house. All right. They have the Colosseums, shopping malls, the policies, the holidays. Okay. And much, much more that this system, all right, is living out. When it says the image of the beast is more than just a picture of white Jesus, it's a system. All right, the revival of Rome, but it's even more stronger. They have what, technology now. All right, but that's basically what they're implementing back in the earth is the Roman Empire, because the Western Roman Empire, all right, was where Esau, Edom had the height of his power. Okay, so from the Renaissance period till now, all right, he's reestablished that very image back into the earth. See? So the image is much more than just a picture of white Jesus. I just wanted to say that.
Pertains to that. Come on.
Neither had received his mark upon their forehead.
Nor believed in his policies. Go ahead.
Or
now the mark is just policies. You know, we've watched this camp give at least 7 different breakdowns over the years of what the mark is. You know, remember it was an embargo. Remember it was this, it was that. You know, joining Esau's military, you know, but, you know, nobody cares. You know, we just a bunch of complaining, and a lot of Israelites are going to be led to destruction behind following these people. All right. So our job and our duty, all right, is we have to put our necks on a line to say something. OK, don't take that charagma. All right, don't take those jabs. These leaders sat up there and told y'all it was okay to do that stuff. Okay. Now, after about 30-something people of the IUIC passed away, after that jab thing, you know, and the bishop got sick, they came back in, you know, they did recant. They did change their stance and say, don't take it as far as the jab. All right. But now we see that the charagma is coming. And for some reason, it's nothing we should warn about. It's nothing that we should, you know, even tie to the Bible. It's ludicrous to say that it's the MOTB. But he just said it's his policy now. Are they not using their policies, all right, to get their craft prospered? Okay. Are not they going to, you know, is not their legislation and policies within what they're trying to do that's tied to people having microchips put inside of them? Absolutely. But for some reason, camps are reluctant to warn about that. Very interesting.
or in their hands.
And we didn't struggle with it. We didn't take part in it. Go ahead.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
We lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. I'm going to say something now. Beware of these dumb Israelite camps that say we lived and reigned with Christ during the dark ages. Was our people righteous during the dark ages?
Now, I don't know who's teaching that. I would love to hear. I've never heard that breakdown. All right. About reigning, with Yahushua during the dark ages. When you get this chapter, Revelation 20, all right, verses 1 through 3 are speaking of a 1,000-year period that should be tied to verse 7. Okay? When you read the book of Revelation, a lot of the history, a lot of the prophecies are scattered. They're all over the place for the purpose that ultimately some people are going to stumble, and that the Heavenly Father give the true insight, all right, to those who have the Holy Spirit to go, all right, into the volume of the book and break these things down. Because when you read Revelation 1 through 3, this is speaking of what happened in the dark ages, all right, where Esau, Edom was ultimately, all right, after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, all right, if you go into the history, you have what you call the Byzantine Empire. And for an 1,000-year period, just read it, Revelation 1:20-1, it says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand." Okay, and the chain, you look that word up, the word chain, halusis, Okay, a chain bound by the body, by which the body or any part of it, hands or feet, is bound. Fetters, okay, bonds. So it represents what? Captivity, okay? It represents that ultimately for a period of 1,000 years, all right, a particular nation of people on earth, all right, would be what? Put in chains, all right, in the sense that they wouldn't rule, all right? They were put down, okay? And when you go into that, you know, that history of the Dark Ages, all right, Esau, Edom was looked down upon. That's when he got chased into the Caucasus Mountains, the caveman era, all right? So this angel, which this is Yahweh Shai, because any nation ruling, any nation being at the bottom, any nation being on the top, all right, it's all ordained through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. The reason we're in captivity now is because a great chain was placed on us. All right, when you go into the curses, all right, and when you go into what Daniel prophesied, all right, we would be in captivity up until the point the Lord ultimately came and delivered us, man. So this is all symbolism, all right, because it said the angel came down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit, all right, which that's the area of Europe, all right, and the scriptures talks about, all right, a land can be a pit. When you get the book of Sirach, out of the lands in the world, he chose one pit, because a lot of people are now teaching that this is talking about some underground place where Satan was put in slavery and all that. Nah, man. Anyway, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, the dragon, when you get Revelation, the 12th chapter, okay, the red dragon, all right, Satan is synonymous with, all right, the ancient Western Roman Empire. Okay, the dragon is the Roman Empire. All right, point blank period, as you go into the scriptures. Okay, the dragon is where the authority that this devil rules with came from. All right, you had the Greeks, and then Rome is where he became a dominant powerhouse. Okay, but you have to understand that Western Roman Empire fell. Okay, so you could, I mean, we got various breakdowns on it. The dragon is speaking of the Roman Empire. Okay, the dragon, he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this just goes into that history, all right, that we always go into. All right, all you have to do is type in how long was the Byzantine Empire, how long did the Dark Ages last. Okay, and it'll always say 1,000 years to 1,100 years. All right, and during that time, so-called Negroes, so-called black people, all right, were ruling. See that? The Moors and all of that, you know, and Jake was going off, all right, but again, they were ruling, all right? So the old serpent, all right, the children of Satan, as it says in 2 Thessalonians, he who would come to do the working of Satan, for 1,000 years, he wasn't able to do his BS, and cast him into the bottomless pit, okay, and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. Okay. So this 1,000-year period here goes into the history of the Byzantine Empire. We have various lessons on it. All right. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. But when you read this chapter, all right, the way it's read, you go from 3 to 7, because after that 1,000 years was expired, this goes into the Renaissance period. Satan was loosed out of his prison. You see, but if you read it straight through, it can be confusing, because John receives a vision here in verse 4, where it says, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. All right, because what did the Lord tell his disciples? in a regeneration. Let's get that real quick. Is that Matthew 19? Yep. Matthew 19 and 28. And Yahushua said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on in the throne of his glory, ye shall also sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. There's another one in the book of Luke, 22nd chapter. Let's get that real quick. All right. Luke 22 and 28. Ye are they, Yahushua talking to his disciples, ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations. And I appoint unto you a kingdom as my Father have appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel, getting things in order, establishing the kingdom of heaven. Okay? So John here in verse 4, okay, he says, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua, all right, and for the word of the Most High, which had not worshipped the beast, all right. And see, you have to understand, those apostles and prophets, all right, are back here today to receive their reward. You see? And some of those men, all right, are going to be beheaded for not worshiping the beast, his image, neither receiving his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Yahushua 1,000 years. So this is a different 1,000 year period, all right, than what verse 1 through 3 is talking about. All right. And we know just by the fact that they're going to reign with Yahushua for 1,000 years. Okay. And see, a lot of people, when they read this, they get confused. And what a lot of people, which I never heard Israelites do this. Well, I have, actually. They'll say, well, we're going to rule for 1,000 years, but then Satan, all right, is going to be able to rebel against us in our kingdom and go out and deceive people. What sense would that make when once the kingdom of heaven is established, all right, once the kingdom of heaven is established, evil will be subdued. Okay. What's the scripture say? He's going to bruise Satan under his feet. Let's get that real quick. Okay. Revelation 16 and 20. And the God of peace shall bruise Satan under your feet. All right. Shortly. The grace of our Lord Yahushua be with you. Amen. Also in 1 Corinthians 15. As a matter of fact, let's get Daniel. Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Then we'll go to those scriptures. Daniel, okay, 2 and 40. All right. Which, when you read this, the revival of Rome is, you know, what will be in rulership when Yahushua return. Okay. The divine kingdom. Right. Daniel 2 and 44. And in those days, and in the days of these kings, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Okay. So if while we're ruling, or if we rule with Yahushua 1,000 years, look, all of those rulerships are going to be subdued. As you're going to see, Nate is teaching, or Bishop Nate is teaching, that after this 1,000 year period, these nations are going to have a war. All right. To try to take us down and attack the Holy Land. The Holy Land's going to be blown up. All right. You'll see it. But we just have to get some things clarified here. Okay. His kingdom is going to be a kingdom of peace. Peace is going to be set up on earth. All right. Once Yahushua comes in and establishes the kingdom. Isaiah 9 and 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be on his shoulder. His name shall be called the Wonderful, the Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of Yahweh will perform this. Okay? So when you go to Revelation, the 20th chapter, let's go back here. This 1,000 year period is the first 1,000 years in the kingdom of heaven, where Yahweh Shai and the 144,000, all right, will reign and establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. Okay? They reign with Hamashiach Yahweh Shai 1,000 years. Okay, so those are two separate 1,000 year periods. All right, and the Lord purposely did that because what? He knew, all right, that some would be stumble over that. The word for reigned is basiliu. To be king, exercise kingly power, to reign, to govern, governor of a province, of the rule of the Messiah, metaphorically, to the highest, to exercise the highest influence, to control. All right, and we're going to have a government. Government means what? Control of the mind. So what are we going to do with those nations on the planet Earth? All right, as we reign with Yahweh Shai. All right, we're going to rule over them with a rod of iron. Revelation, the 2nd chapter, out of Yahweh Shai's mouth. Revelation 2:26, and he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. See, and he shall rule over them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken in shivers, even as I have received of my Father. So the Lord, Yahweh Shai, is going to share, all right, what was given unto him. The whole earth and everything in it belongs to Yahweh Shai, all right? But his men under him, all right, will be able to exercise authority and rule, all right, with him. So they're going to reign with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years, because you have to understand, this earth is defiled. We know Babylon's going to be destroyed. Hey, the land of Israel has to be destroyed, but that's going to be rebuilt pursuant to the Holy Scriptures. The stranger shall build thy walls. Let's get that. Isaiah, the 60th chapter. Isaiah 60. Let's see, the sons of strangers. Yep, Isaiah 60:10. And the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls, and their king shall minister unto thee, serve. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I have had mercy on thee. So these nations, these heathens, are going to be put to work. Okay? They're not going to devise some plan during the 1,000 years to come up against us. All right. And because, first of all, there won't be any other weapons. The weapons will be beaten. And we'll show you all of these. They won't have weapons. Okay. They're going to be disarmed and put to work. Okay. We just read it. We just read here in Revelation, the 2nd chapter, that ultimately we're going to rule over these heathen with the rod of iron under the direct authority of Yahweh Shai. Point blank, period. See? So to them that overcometh and keepeth his works to the end, those are what? His apostles, his disciples, the men of the Lord. Some are going to be beheaded, you know, and when he comes back, the resurrection is going to afford each and every member of the elect to be brought back to their original authority. Okay? Because when we get beamed up, we're going to get crowned. Right? So it says, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. And the dead is talking about the heathen nations. Okay? Because for 1,000 years, they're going to be under hardcore, strict captivity, building, unlearning those bad behaviors, learning the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. Okay? That's the first resurrection, which let's get 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, and the order of resurrection. Because everybody's talking about resurrection. But the resurrection is nothing more than Yahweh Shai, all right, and the first fruit spirits created under him, starting with the 144,000 being brought back to their original order, all right, for the purpose of coming down onto the earth and establishing that order. See? Under Adam, we fell. Under Solomon, we fell. Yahweh Shai's sacrifice, okay, gives us the ability to overcome death. You see? But the point is being brought back to our first estate and then coming down on earth and reigning. That first 1,000-year period is crucial and talked about right there, because that will be the point where the heathen will have to learn righteousness. That will be the point where the kingdom of heaven is set up on earth. It says, but now is Yahweh Shai risen from the dead and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, Adam, by man came also the resurrection of the dead, Yahweh Shai. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive. Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, all be made alive. But every man in his own order. See, every man in his own order. Hamashiach, the first fruits. Now, who are the first fruits? Afterward, they that are Yahweh Shai that is coming, a large multitude. Who are the first fruits? Let's get Revelation, the 14th chapter. Revelation 14 and 4. All right, because when it's all said and done, Revelation 14 and 1, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood upon Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. When it's all said and done, those are that's the government that will be established on earth as it is in heaven. See? And we're going to rule out of Jerusalem, okay, and the rest of the promised land. We're going to part inheritance amongst the 12 tribes, but then that order then is to be spread throughout the whole entire planet Earth. See? The scriptures talks about Yahweh Shai having dominion from to the ends of the earth. And the purpose is that the people in the earth learn righteousness. So who's going to be the authorities of that charge? All right. Yahweh Shai and the first fruits, Revelation 14 and 4. These were they that were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. And this is a symbolic. All right. Paul talks about the church being prepared as a virgin for her husband. Okay. Meaning they're pure, they're without blame. Okay. They're not bowing to all of these other philosophies once they woke up. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, the 144 being the first fruits unto God and the Lamb. So this word for first fruits. First fruits of parke. All right, just to get to the point, persons superior in excellence to others of the same class. Okay? Because the scriptures talks about those that are going to be great in the kingdom and those are going to be least in the kingdom. Those who are least, all right, won't have, all right, the authority that those who are greatest will have. The first fruit spirits, all right, who were with Yahweh Shai, all right, from the foundation of the earth. That's who's being raised up here in these latter days teaching his word. Okay, some are in the spirit world. But no matter what, when Yahweh Shai returns, as it says here, every man is going to be in his own order. All right, Yahweh Shai, the first fruits, that's that government body, and afterward they are the Yahweh Shais that is coming, the large multitude. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered the kingdom up to the Most High, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and authority and power. For he must reign till he have put all enemies under his feet. See? And the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. All right? Because we're going to have the new bodies, okay, reigning with Yahweh Shai. Okay? But at this point, no heathen will have the ability to wage war. See that? The resurrection is Yahweh Shai and the first fruit spirits being brought back to their first estate. All right. But then the Bible talks about New Jerusalem coming down from heaven. Okay. Revelation 21. Okay. And 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. That is the elect in their new bodies coming off of the chariot to establish order on earth. See? Those virgins. Okay? So the point is we're going to rule on earth in those new heavenly bodies. The scriptures say he's going to change our vile body. All right? So at that point, no heathen will have an ability to try to come up against it. There will be no war in the earth anymore. See? And the rest of the dead, the heathen nations, live not again, all right, until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. So for that first 1,000-year period, the heathen will be in hardcore captivity, all right? But as you read in prophecy, let's get Isaiah the 14th chapter. There's going to come a point where they will be able to live in a sense that they will just go to their lands, all right? They'll know what we require. By 1,000 years, their descendants on down the line will know, okay, these are the laws. This is what because they're not going to have the new covenant. So again, this is why they will need to be taught. This is why when you read Isaiah and Micah, it talks about the nations coming to Jerusalem, the people of the Most High, to learn the ways of righteousness. See? That's the goal. Isaiah 26. All right, Isaiah 26 and 20 and 9. Isaiah 26 and 9. With my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yea, my spirit within me. All right. With my spirit within me, I will seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. When Yahweh Shai returns and beams us up, okay, and we come back down, okay, his judgments are going to be in the earth. Everybody's going to have to learn righteousness. They ain't going to be somewhere, all right, thinking of a plan, all right, and then another war is going to break out. And we'll get to that. Isaiah 14. Let's see here. Man, this is a lot here. So let me see. Stirred. Yeah. Let's see. Yep, let's start at 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. This is when Lucifer falls. Esau, Edom falls. Esau's the end of the world, right? Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. This chapter is foretelling Esau's fall, the king of Babylon, which he goes under a code name Lucifer here that has the world bugged out. It's just the children of Satan, which Lucifer just means the enlightened ones. The bearers of the light. Don't they call themselves the illuminated ones, the Illuminati? The Bible's on point. Okay? Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee. And these other nations, all right, they're going to be against you. Okay? They represent the dead. They're not the children of life. Life is only to be forwarded in the earth through the children of life, the Israelites, under the top man, Yahweh Shai, who gets his authority directly from the Father. It says, even all the chief ones of the earth, all right, it have raised up, all right, from their thrones all the kings of the nations, and they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou become weak like us? All right. art thou become like unto us? All right. Because all of these nations follow Esau, but when they really see him for what he is, all right, which a lot of them are waking up to him now, once they see him for what he is, they're going to be taunting him. Okay? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, all right, your doctrine, your philosophies, the worm is spread under thee, the worm covered thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? Now, this is speaking of Esau, the king of Babylon, all right, who pretty much boasting himself to be God, boasting his technology to be the end-all, be-all creation. All right, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars. All right, let's just get to the point. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble? See, it's not talking about Satan. You know, Satan was locked up and he broke and he kicked out of heaven, all that garbage. This is why the men of the Lord need to be breaking the scriptures down. Everybody else just need to be quiet. Is this the man? That's what these heathen are going to say to Esau. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble? Once they see him for what he is, that made the world a wilderness, that destroyed the cities, that opened not the houses of his prisoners. They're going to ultimately, as he falls and we start to rule, these nations are going to see how he ruled was wicked. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house, because they're going to be what? Put in their respective lands and governed and ruled over in righteousness. But thou, Esau, Edom, are cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword that go down to the stones of the pit. All right. And as a carcass trodden underfoot. There's going to be a different judgment for him. After the 1,000-year period, the nations will be able to live. But Esau, all right, he's going to be destroyed as a nation, chased out of the world. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial. See, their rulerships will be buried, all right, but they'll still be able to live. You're not going to be joined with the rest of the heathen, all right, to where you can enjoy a righteous rulership. You got to go, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. So after the 1,000-year period, the rest of the heathen are going to be good. Okay? You're not going to be joined with them in the ability to just live on earth under our righteous rulership. You, as a nation, pursuant to the book of Obadiah, verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, Judah and Ephraim. Okay? And the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken it. All right. However, pursuant to the likes of Zechariah, the 14th chapter, there will be heathen that are left. Zechariah 14 and 16. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. See, no Edomites will be there. And it shall be so, whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth, even unto Jerusalem, to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. So if you don't keep our laws, you get judged. Okay? We'll have the ability to make sure it doesn't rain where you live at. These are the types of powers that we're getting ready to have on earth. And if the family of Egypt, which is the Hamites, go not up, all right, and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, showing you they won't have the second covenant. The second covenant is the ability to do what? the law, statutes, and commandments will be in you. So the fact that they have to be told to come up, the fact that there's a possibility that they won't come up, lets you know that they won't be in the second covenant. Okay? So going back to Revelation 20, all right? But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. That we just explained that. The first resurrection, where we're going to rule on earth. Now, let's hear the bishop. Because the last thing he said, Salakia, the last thing he said was that basically throwing a shot at us that we teach that the reigning with Yahweh Shai was during the dark ages. I don't know who teaching that. But that's a lie, and we don't teach that. And whoever is, they're going off.
Hell no, we was wicked as hell. So you mean to tell me Christ was sitting with us? We was reigning with him during the dark ages when we was worshiping Mary, worshiping idols? Are you crazy? Huh? Read it again, that bottom part.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Verse 5.
But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Here's another thing. Beware of dumb Israelite camps that say, oh, you can sin. It don't matter what kind of sin you in. You coming back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're a child molester, a homosexual, an adulterer, drug addict, drug user, drug abuser, it doesn't matter. You'll die and come back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. Read verse 5 again. Listen what the...
Yeah, and see, now I don't it's weird because did not after the flood those spirits come back into the earth? So basically, the heathen will be on earth. We just read that, have the ability to come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, and but those who were wicked and chosen to be wicked on this side for the story's sake, they're never going to come back. They're going to burn forever. Just listen to him.
The Bible says.
Come on now, dog.
But the rest of the dead live not again.
No, they came back as a baby, Yuri.
Live not again.
He came back as a baby, Yuri.
Lived not again.
Until when?
Until the 1,000 years were finished.
Until the 1,000 years were finished. Y'all see that? Go ahead.
Now, did y'all just catch that? So he's mocking the doctrine that the 2/3 will come back in the kingdom as little babies. But then he just told you that pursuant to Revelation 20 and 5, that they're not going to live again till the 1,000 years are finished. So how are they going to live again, Bishop Nathaniel? If that, although that's the wrong breakdown, but you're mocking that the 2/3 will never come back, because we teach that ultimately the 2/3, all right, pursuant to, let's get Romans, the 11th chapter. And let's get it in the NLT. Let's get Romans, the 11th chapter in the NLT. And we'll go to verse, all right, because the mercy of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua is for all Israel. They're just in order to how it's going to be issued out. Okay? And the first fruit spirits and the large multitude, pretty much, which are a part of that body, they're going to be, all right, brought back unto their new bodies, beamed up into the chariot. Okay? And everything, and every Israelite that is born after that will come from that order. See? The 2/3 will be destroyed. But those spirits are going to eventually come back in the kingdom. Be born into the new covenant. I don't understand what's so hard about that. All right? Whether it's after 1,000 years, as Bishop is saying, or immediately. They're coming back. And he's not going to expound on that. We're gonna rewind it and let's just listen to. That's why you got to listen to these guys, man. A lot of people are just caught up in the celebrity effect, the cult of personality, the name, But come on, man, did you hear that? Matter of fact, Let's rewind it.
Hell no, we was wicked as hell. So you mean to tell me Christ was sitting with us? We was reigning with him during the dark ages when we was worshiping Mary, worshiping idols? Are you crazy? Huh? Read it again, that bottom part.
And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years.
Verse 5.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Here's another thing. Beware of dumb Israelite camps that say, oh, you can sin. It don't matter what kind of sin you in. You coming back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're a child molester, a homosexual, an adulterer, drug addict, drug user, drug abuser, it doesn't matter. You'll die and come back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. Read verse 5 again. Listen what the Bible says.
Come on now, dog.
But the rest of the dead lived not again.
No, they came back as a baby, Yuri.
Lived not again.
He came back as a baby, Yuri.
Lived not again.
Until when?
Until the 1,000 years were finished.
Until the 1,000 years were finished. Y'all see that? Go ahead.
This.
So how are they going to be born again? They won't be babies? How are they going to live again? Anyway, let's get Romans 11 and 26. And so all Israel will be saved, as the scripture said, the one who rescues will come from Jerusalem, and he will turn Israel away from ungodliness. Okay, it won't be any ungodliness, all right, in Jacob anymore. Okay, once we're all in the new covenant, all of the wicked Israelites are cut off. Okay, basically from that point forth, because we're going to have children in the kingdom. It talks about that. Okay, what's that? Isaiah 59. Isaiah 59 and 21. As for me, this is my covenant with them, the new covenant, saith the Lord. My spirit that is upon thee, and my words which I have put in thy mouth, shall not depart out of thy mouth, nor out of the mouth of thy seed. All right, nor out of the mouth of thy seed's seed, saith Yahweh, from henceforth and forever. All right, the scriptures talks about us having offspring in the kingdom. Okay, so every child that is born will be born into the new covenant. Okay, Isaiah 65 and 23. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth, all right, for trouble, for they are the seed blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them. They will be blessed. All right. Romans 11 and 27. And this is my covenant with them when I shall take away their sins. Okay. So the 2/3, of course, they won't be beamed up. They won't be a part of that ceremony where, you know, we're being crowned. Okay. But when we come down onto the earth, all right, they will, all right, be born into the new covenant. They will be son. We're going to son them, all right, in righteousness. Okay. You mean to tell me the heathen will have the ability, okay, to witness a righteous rulership, but not our own people who were on drugs, who the Lord, you know, created, all right, to be against us? They won't be able to come back and witness that we were right, that and glorify their power on earth. Why would you want that? Because you're unmerciful. They just won't be a part of, all right, the governing body, as the scriptures say, least in the kingdom of heaven. Let's get that real quick. Matthew 5 and 19. Whosoever shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, the word least. See? The word least. All right.
Strong's G 1646. Elagistas. Elagistas.
in size, of management of affairs. You'll be an Israelite. You'll be blessed to be in the new covenant, but you won't have the same amount as those who are what? Greater in the kingdom of heaven. Okay. In rank, you won't be amongst the higher hierarchy, the rank of the elites. You'll just be an Israelite. That'll be great. You'll be in the new covenant. You'll be blessed. All right. But you won't be great. All right. Great. Megas is the word. All right. Great. Okay. Stature. Predicated of rank. Okay. Persons eminent for ability, virtue, authority. You will not be joint heirs with Yahweh Shai in authority. Okay. See that? Again, the order of resurrection is Yahweh Shai, the first fruits, and then those who are his after his coming. So that's the 144,000 in the large multitude. Okay. And just like Solomon did, all right, when he established his kingdom, okay. Let's get 1 Kings 9. 1 Kings 9. And let's put this in an NLT. 21. 1 Kings 9 and 21. I start at 20. There were still some people living in the land. All right. After David had conquered these nations. All right. There were still some nations who were living. There were still some people living in the land who were not Israelites, including the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, all the other ites, right? It says these were descendants of the nations whom the people of Israel had not completely destroyed. Then now we just read the nations that are left are going to have to come up to Jerusalem to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So it's the same concept in the kingdom of heaven that we see here with Solomon. So Solomon conscripted them, all right, for his labor force, and they served, all right, in the labor force to this day. He made them what? Servants. Okay. They're going to be servants and handmaids. But Solomon did not conscript any of the Israelites for forced labor. Instead, he assigned them to serve as fighting men, government officials, officers, captains in his army, commanders of his chariots and charioteers. All right. Solomon appointed 550 of them to supervise the people working on his various projects. So what is Yahweh Shai going to do? He's going to put his people on. Okay. He's going to put his people on. All right. The large multitude will be set up greatly under the 144,000. All right. And then we will go throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. Establishing righteousness. Okay. These heathen, pursuant to Isaiah, the 61st chapter. All right. Isaiah 61:5. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the son of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. All right. What is a plowman? Okay. Ikar or Akar, husbandman, working the land, yet not owning any of it. So they're going to be working, man. All right. They're going to be working. But the thing is, they'll be on earth. So you mean the 2/3 will never be able to be back into the earth? Well, according to your own doctrine, you just said after the 1,000-year period. So if you're mocking them coming back as babies, how are they going to come back and live after the 1,000 years, according to your doctrine? Which is the wrong doctrine. But I mean, are y'all listening to this guy? Romans 11 and 20. All right. 7. And this is my covenant with them. I will take away their sins. Many of the people of Israel are now enemies of the good news. This benefits you Gentiles. All right. Back then, many of the Israelites were coming up against the church of Yahweh Shai. All right. Those of the circumcision. This benefits the Gentiles who were grafted back in. right? Yet they are still the people he loves because he chose their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which ultimately was promised that that seed would inherit, all right, all of these great things. But we know it starts with a remnant, the first fruits. So yeah, they're enemies of the good news, yet they're still the people he loves because he chose their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So for the 2/3 to be completely obliterated and never brought back into the fold, just destroyed, that's basically the Most High breaking his promise that he made to Abraham. The gift of God's gift and his call can never be withdrawn. See, once you Gentiles were rebels against the Most High, all right, the Israelite foreigners who were scattered in these different lands, but bowing to these idols. Us wasn't there a point where we were rebelling against the Most High? But when the people of Israel rebelled against him, God was merciful to you instead. All right, the elect. Now they are rebels, and God's mercy has come to you, so that they too will share in God's mercy. See, they're gonna get mercy through our mercy. See, King James. Let's read this in the King James. See, y'all are some very, very unmerciful cats. And here it is. He got this. He comes at us. We're the bum black Hebrew Israelites and this and this and that. But then they'll sit down with Muslims and say these are our brothers. Very confusing, man. Even so, these also, all right. Even so, have these also now not believed that through your mercy they may obtain mercy. What does that mean? What does that mean? Verse 33, oh, how great are God's riches and wisdom and knowledge. How impossible is it for us to understand his decisions and his ways. And Jake just can't, y'all don't get it. You first out of one mouth, you're teaching that the 2/3 are going to burn forever. All right. Then you mock them coming back into the kingdom as newborn babies. But now you're using Revelation 20:5 to say that they're not going to live again until after the 1,000 years. How are they going to live? Oh, they're going to be raised back up to be destroyed. The world may never know. Maybe he'll break it down.
Is the first resurrection.
Now, just keep reading. Just keep reading.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection.
That's when Christ returns. We all want part of that first resurrection. Go ahead.
And again, the first resurrection is Yahushua and the 144. All right, and the large multitude being brought back to their first estate. See, to rule on earth as it is in heaven with those heavenly bodies.
Such the second death hath no power.
That's when Christ judges the whole planet, all generations, all souls, all spirits. Go ahead.
And that's true. All right. That nuclear fire, the second death, all right, is fire, as it says in the book of 2 Peter's. And if it's too many precepts, if it's too much for you, if you're tired of us talking about Nate, well, hey, you there's various videos, man. All right. There's various videos and things you can look at. You the one who clicked it, nigga. I ain't tell you to click it. 2 Peter's 3. And 5. For this they are willingly ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High, the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of water, all right, and in the water, whereby the world, all right, that was then was overflowed with water, perished. It's the first death. Okay, and water and fire are cleansing agents. But the heavens and earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire, all right, against the judgment of and perdition of ungodly men. So fire is going to come in the form of, nuclear war, which Babylon's going to be destroyed. There's going to be war in different parts of the earth. But the chariots are going to come and also shoot down fire. All right. Synonymously, we will be beamed up. Okay. So, again, he didn't go into it, but you can't link Revelation 20 verse 1 through 3, all right, to 4 through 6. You would jump from 3 to 7, because after the 1,000 years were expired, Esau, Edom, Satan was loosed out of his prison. That is the Renaissance period. And he would go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together. And this is where we are now. It's not Gog and Magog, which is Russia, being used to gather various different nations to turn an evil eye towards the west, towards Israel. That's happening now. Nate is telling you in this lesson that that's going to happen after we reign with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years. This is why we're doing these lessons, because that is off. Affliction will not rise up again, pursuant to the scriptures. None of these nations are going to join together after Yahweh Shai return and we get into the kingdom, all right, to where they're going to rebel and then a war is going to break out. There will be no more war in the land at that point. But let's keep listening.
But they shall be priests of God.
Those of us that take part in the first resurrection shall be priests of God
and of Christ.
and of Christ.
And shall reign with him 1,000 years.
How long are we going to reign with him?
1,000 years.
Come on.
And when the 1,000 years are expired.
Now this goes back to what we read in Isaiah 24. And when the 1,000 years are expired, go ahead.
Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Oh, wait a minute. Go back to Isaiah 24. I just want you to see it. Isaiah 24, the second to last verse.
And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit. And shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days.
Many days is how long, brothers? 1,000 years?
Oh, my goodness, man. One day to the Lord is as 1,000 years. Okay. When you read Isaiah, the 24th chapter, okay, that is after the destruction, man. All right. Isaiah 24:19, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. All right. And why is the earth going to be moved? Let's get, what is that? Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50 and 46. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved. All right. And a cry is heard among the nations. All right. So when Babylon falls, the earth is gonna what? Verse 20, the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be moved like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. Okay? What he's getting ready to tell you is that Esau is gonna rise again, loosed out of his prison. And when this all happens, when Babylon is destroyed and all of this war is going on in the chariot, all right, Revelation, the 6th chapter, tells you what? Okay? Revelation 6 and 15, all right, as the heaven, verse 14, the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. This is the destruction. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the rocks and the mountains, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For great is the day of his wrath, for the great day of his wrath is coming. Who shall be able to stand? So during this destruction, the elites of this world, along with their slaves and the people that they have underground, countries, I bet. They got a lot going on. All right. They're going to flee into the bunkers. All right. And when New Jerusalem comes down from heaven, all right, we're going to gather these devils up. See, what's that? Jeremiah 6:10. Yeah, he's reaching on this one, man. So after 1,000 years, okay, So they're just going to be sitting in the bunkers for thousands of years? Like, I don't. We'll let them talk, but Jeremiah 16:16. Behold, I will send for many fishers, said the Lord, and they shall fish them. After that, I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them. All right, and this is talking about the 2/3, man. We're gonna get the 2/3, man. All right, and who else? The heathen, man. Okay, well, the 2/3 are all going to die here in Babylon, but the rebellious jakes that are still going to be scattered around, okay, they're going to be put down too. Okay, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and from the holes of the rocks. See, so we're going to be turned into hunters. All right, when we come down from heaven, okay, it's for the purpose of establishing the kingdom, and judgments will be a sovereign nation all over again, and the law, statutes, and commandments can be implemented as judgments into the earth. Okay? And it shall come to pass, Isaiah 24:21, in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. Okay? And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and they shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days they shall be visited. Okay, this ain't talking about no 1,000 years, man. After the 1,000, no, this is just talking about, this is the judgment set for the rulers of this world. They're going to be taken down. Okay, and we will have them, sitting in places, all right, awaiting judgments, being told what to do. But Revelation 20:7, and when the 1,000 years are expired, all right, that's talking about the 1,000-year period of the dark ages where Esau, Edom was shut up. All right, because all you have to, let's go to Google. Let's go to Google real quick. Okay. The Byzantine Empire, which was the point from the fall of the Western Roman Empire, okay, as you see here, from 1330, all right, when the Western Roman Empire fell, to 1453, all right, that was the dark dark ages, that 1,000-year period. But 1453, what comes to mind? The Renaissance. What year did the Renaissance start? All right, the beginning periods of the early Renaissance were the 15th century. All right, anywhere in between the 1350 and the 1500s. Okay, that 1,000-year period was from the fall of the Western Roman Empire, okay, around that time, and then Satan was loosed out of his prison. So you mean to tell me, while Yahweh Shai is on his throne and we're kings and priests on earth, that Satan, Esau, will get out of jail and go out to deceive the nations? So he's going to be able to go out while Yahweh Shai and the 144,000 are reigning on earth. Let's get Revelation 20:6. Revelation 20:6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death have no power, but they shall be priests of God and Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. Where are we going to reign at? Let's get Revelation 5. But we crazy. Revelation 5:10 and 9, and they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us, all right, to the Most High by thy blood out of every kindred, tongue, nation, and people, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on earth as it is in heaven. So you mean to tell me that during this time where we're reigning as kings and priests, that Satan, Esau, is going to get out of prison and go out and teach the nation's lies? Bishop, this is witchcraft, brother. You tripping. Why? I don't know. Why would anybody teach this? At this point, these camps are taking turns just bringing confusion. And the only people that are saying something about this is one group of people. The apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, all right, and the bishops and the brothers with the likewise mindset and doctrine scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. We call this stuff out. This ain't a big contradiction to y'all?
Shall they be visited?
Now let's go back to Revelation 20, verse 7.
And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
The white man that we lock up in the Caucasus Mountains again, we're going to let them loose. They're going to be loosed after 1,000 years. Go ahead.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle.
So while we're ruling as kings and priests on earth, Esau, all right, you know what just happened? Bishop Nate just stumbled over the stumbling stone. See, he just stumbled over the stumbling stone, which is Yahweh Shai. Through Yahweh Shai, we have the ability to go through go into the volume of the book and bring out the truth, discern, how to teach this book, discern what this precept means. What he's given us that ability. But Bishop Nate, we're witnessing his oil spill. I know y'all love him. I know y'all, saying that he's Moses, back in the reincarnation, or Elijah the prophet back in the reincarnation. But this is off. See, there comes a point as an Israelite that you just got to take your head out of your ass and think. And we have this breakdown. All right. I did a breakdown on it before me. The apostles and elders did breakdowns on this. And it is very, very, the way it's written, you can stumble. This is why you need the true teachers who are able to discern strong meat. What's that? Hebrews 5:14, but strong meat, as Chief Ephraim say, GMS is able to go into all of these deep breakdowns. All right. But they cowards when it comes to the affairs of war. Okay. Well, going into the deep breakdowns, that is our war. That's the weapons of our warfare, not carnal. It says, but strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who by reason, all right, of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. And we see this, and we should say something about this. That's not madness to you? Think about it. For 1,000 years, we're going to be reigning on earth as kings and priests under Yahweh Shai. We get our reward. And then after the 1,000-year period, Esau, all right, who's going to be slaves in the Caucasus Mountain, he's going to get power again and go throughout the four corners of the earth while we're ruling. What are you going to do? Drive, fly? Like, we don't have chariots, in the sky. So he's going to be able to get on airplane. He's going to go through the four corners of the earth and deceive the nations. Let's get Daniel 7. Daniel 7:26, but the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion and consume and destroy it unto the end. Esau's dominion is going to be consumed and destroyed when Yahushua returns. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the whole kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. All right. I'm at a loss for words.
The number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Now, let me tell you something about verse 8. In verse 8, there's time in there. In order for Gog and Magog to gather together the nations against God's people, that takes time. It does not take a day. It does not take a year. Because not only do you got to gather nations, you also need what to come up against us? Weapons. Because remember, when we rule, if y'all remember, in Isaiah 2, what did we do? Nation learned what? War no more. We made them beat their swords into plowshares. So for 1,000 years, there's no war on the earth. Now we loose this white man. Gog and Magog go out to gather together the nations. Time is in there. And it does not say how long it.
This brother is gone. He's gone. And I ain't just saying that out of spite. He's out of there. Isaiah, all right, 2 and 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains, not for 1,000 years, forever. The 1,000-year period, it stretches the 1,000-year period because that is the first 1,000 years where Yahweh Shah and the first fruit spirits will be able to what? Set up dominion and reign on earth. You got to understand, these are the spirits that were used by the Most High from the like in the beginning to create everything. It took what? 6 1,000-year periods, and you have a 7-day of rest to create all of these things. All right. So it's going to be one day given unto them to come onto the earth under Yahweh Shai and set it all up, set up the kingdom of heaven. See? What does the Isaiah 1 and 24 say? Or 26? And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. See? So the Lord is going to restore thy judges as at the first. Okay? This is Zechariah 12 and 8. He gone, y'all. And nobody's just, that's cool, right? So for 1,000 years, they go just be creating weapons, and they go come out. We just go let them come out, and they go start a war. Zechariah 12 and 8. In that day, the Lord shall defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of Yahweh before them. All right, this is the tabernacle of David. They shall be as what? God. All right, as what? The Alahayim. They shall be as the Alahayim. All right, Alahayim. All right, which, where's that first word? That word first mentioned in the beginning. The Alahayim created the heaven and the earth, which I just loaded a lesson that I did on that. The magistrates. Okay, this word for rulers, judges. See, and the thing is this. He's going to change our vile body. Philippians 3 and 21, who shall change our vile body, that it may fashion like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able to subdue all things unto himself. 1 John. So lies are going to be able to be taught. War is going to have, this dude is crazy. And there's 32,000, there's thousands of Israelites watching this, saying, good job. Y'all bum, shut up, bum. Wait, that doctrine's homeless. I'll be a bum. 1 John 3 and 2. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. We're going to be just like him. We're going to be brought back to our original estate. Isaiah 2 and 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord, the house of the Lord, shall be established on top of the mountains, a government, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and nations shall flow into it. But in the midst of that, they go, Esau go jump out of the caves while chariots are in the air, while we are in our right bodies, and he's going to go throughout the four corners of the earth lying again. Does that make sense? Are we tripping? Verse 2, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the house of Yahweh, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion, all right, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. That's what the word Jerusalem means. What? Yirah, all right, Yirah Shalom, or Yirah Shalom. Yirah means what? All right, to be cast out, to teach, to instruct, right? So Jerusalem means teaching of peace. So the teaching of peace from that point will go out, starting at Jerusalem, the Garden East and Eden. It will now go out throughout the four corners of the earth. And all of the nations are going to walk and say, we got to walk in those paths. And he shall judge among many nations and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Homie.
Takes. Read verse 8 again.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Read.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth.
And what they do?
And compassed the camp of the saints about.
So remember, Isaiah 2 again. The mountain of the Lord shall be exalted above all mountains and all hills. You got to look up at it. So they're going to say, you know what? We can defeat them. They got to get all the nations in agreement with that thing first. So read it again.
When you get 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, these nations are going to come together to try to fight Yahweh Shai. Let's get in this chapter. They're going to try to fight against him when he returns. Let's go to the point. Let's see here. You got to read this chapter to, because when Yahweh Shai returns, there's going to be war going on. Let's see here. This is the interpretation. 2nd Esdras 13 and 29. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to fight against another, city against city, place against another, one people against another, one realm against another. Civil unrest, all kind of hell's going to be going on the earth. Persecution of the saints, all of that's going to be going on, right? And the time shall be when these things come to pass, and the signs which I showed thee before, then my son shall be declared, who thou saw as a man ascending. This dude is tripping. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have against another. All right. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. So these nations are going to try to fight against Yahweh Shai when he returns. See? But it ain't, it's going to be a first round KO, man. Okay? What the hell is this guy talking about? Revelation 20 and 7. And when 1,000 years are expired, this is the Renaissance period. After the Byzantine Empire came the Renaissance period. Okay? What is the Renaissance period? All right? The point where All right. Esau was able to reestablish those Roman ideologies, the ideologies of the Roman Empire, the system of Rome. Esau's power seat. He was able to establish it as a world dominant power. All right. And America, along with the NATO and the EU, is the final, all right, leg of that. He's at the end of his little season because the scriptures say he will be loosed a little season. After the 1,000 years, he will be loosed a little season. The joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. So that ain't talking about when we in the kingdom. See, this is why the real men of the Lord got to bring these things out. See, y'all think we just get a kick, Nate. Nah, this is a very wicked doctrine. So from the Renaissance till now, what has Esau done? He's went out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, which is leading to where we are now. Gog and Magog to gather them together for battle. The number is whom is as the sand of the sea. Armageddon. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about in the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Okay? So they're going to come after the Israelites. Okay? When the enemy comes in like a flood, what's that, Isaiah 59 and 19, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. Okay? And why would fire need to come down and we're in our new bodies? So we're reigning as kings and priests on earth. Esau gets out of slavery, goes lying throughout the four corners of earth, and then Gog and Magog starts a war. And then they say after the weapons are subdued and all of that, somehow, I guess for 1,000 years, we didn't know that they were somewhere just building weapons, and they're like, let's shoot the chariots. I mean, what more do you need to hear?
And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. Mm-hmm. And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them.
Go ahead.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast...
So the lake of fire comes after the 1,000-year period where we reign as kings and priests on earth.
Beast
and the false prophet are.
So where America and the 7 heads and 10 horns and the church system are already at. Yes. So let's let you know time has gone by. Let's go back to Ezekiel 38 now. So I'm going to say something else. Don't let black Hebrew Israelites fool you into saying Ezekiel 38 is today. These black Hebrew Israelites get that dumb doctrine from Christians. Christians will read Ezekiel 38 and go, that's today. Have we reigned with Christ 1,000 years yet, brothers? No, we have not.
Damn, this dude is through. Ezekiel 38 is after the 1,000-year period, after we subdue all of the nations, okay, and they're under us, building, doing all of that. They just go all gather with Gog and Magog. This is madness. This is going to take a whole nother video to go into this. And then Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, all of them are going to gather all of these weapons, bucklers, shields, all right, and join with Russia to shoot missiles on the land of Israel. All right, and then America. Anyway, that you know what? I'm gonna leave it there. We'll be back with more. Hopefully, I will edify on to the next. Sheesh.